Guest Maggot shiur over here. 580 crown.
Anybody didn't know, maybe we could put out flyers with that nice original concepts and articles, columns on the Young Moshiach. He's the author.
Look for it in shul.
Look for it in shul. Very interesting.
That's
very
right.
inspiring,
It's the first week I saw it.
In the shul and or WhatsApp group near you every week.
Arya is a very insightful and
Events.
Gorwitz.
particularly in health and business.
Lara what's your son? No?
I'm starting my own Gorwitz.
Got a lot to say.
I know there's a lot of them out there already.
Go.
Okay, so the theme of the night is totally random Moshiach brothers. Because let me tell you how I ended up giving a shiur over here. Really, I give a shiur at Ner Menachem at 8:30. So why am I not giving a shiur at Ner Menachem? Because at 8:15, no, more like 8 o'clock, a mouse ran out from under my stove, and my wife freaked out. So, okay.
Like they all do.
So here I am, Shana Rishayna. I never had my own apartment, never had to deal with my own mice. Roaches maybe a little bit, yeah, never mice. So what do I do about a mouse? I have no idea. So I call Raskin, because Raskin lives in my building. He tells me to get a mouse trap. Okay, fine. So I run out to Kultiv, and I'm on my way back home. I realize it's 8:15. There's no way I'm setting these traps, calling my wife down, getting back to the shiur in time, giving a shiur at 8:30. So you know what? Over there they have a night killel. It's every night. It doesn't make a difference to them what night I come. So tomorrow night I'll give the shiur. I called the guy, can I give the shiur tomorrow? I said, yeah, fine, no problem. 5 minutes later, Raskin says, Rabbi Jacobson canceled for the night, last minute. Okay, I guess I'm available then. So here we are. So in line with all of the randomness that got us to this point, the shiur is also going to be really random. Because what am I supposed to say besides whatever's going on in my head? So it might be a little more for bringing it style, and everybody can feel free to...
Moshiach and mice, no?
What? Moshiach and mice.
Moshiach and mice.
I figured that the mouse is mistama gilgul of somebody who said something not nice about Moshiach, so he's making everybody Moshiach and making me give an extra Moshiach shiur, and then now I can get caught in the trap and go back to not being a gilgul. That's just the thought. Anyway, so anybody can feel free to jump in at any point. I'm just going to say a bunch of stuff. We'll see what we have time for, and I'm happy to discuss anything that I say or that I don't say or whatever. Okay, so let's get started. So there's a mimer that I'm teaching in another shiur called Vehechrim Tafshin Yud Gimel. It's a mimer from Achron Shal Pesach. It's the first mimer where the Rebbe really goes into in detail the subject of Kriyas Yamsuf. And I find it to be just a murdik mimer. It's not the deepest mimer, but it just explains in such a clear way what the whole Geula, the whole Yiddishkeit is about. So the Rebbe says basically like this. We want to understand what's Kriyas Yamsuf, and why by Yetzias Mitzrayim we had that the sea split, right? Kriyas Yamsuf. But when Moshiach comes, there's going to be something called Bekiyas Anar, and there's Vehechrim Havai Lashon Yam Mitzrayim, right? So over there's differences. There's that they're splitting the sea, and we're also splitting the river. But there's no river when it was just Yetzias Mitzrayim. So, and the Rebbe explains why you can't say a practical answer that they're coming from a different direction, so they have to split the river. Because Yetzias Mitzrayim Kriyas Yamsuf anyway was a spiritual thing. It wasn't just about a practical way of saving the Yidden. It was that they went in one side and they came out the same side. They didn't go straight through. The Rebbe brings different rayas why Kriyas Yamsuf was not really about the gashmis, the kahatzola of the Yidden. And so what was Kriyas Yamsuf really? So the Rebbe says really whenever you talk about going out of Mitzrayim, there's two parts. There's leaving Mitzrayim and there's getting the Torah. It's really two separate steps, yeah? And so the Rebbe says, Al Pi Pnimius Anyanim, Kriyas Yamsuf really had more to do with Matan Torah than it had to do with leaving Mitzrayim. Because leaving Mitzrayim was really basically done already. So if we want to understand what was Kriyas Yamsuf, then we have to understand what's Matan Torah. So what's the Chiddush of Matan Torah when we know, like we're learning now in Chumash, that Avraham Avinu did all the mitzvahs already? So what's the Chiddush of Matan Torah? It's not the information. It's not about now we know what the mitzvahs are before we didn't know what the mitzvahs are. It's really about the fact that there was a koyach that was given to be mevatel l'gezeira between al yenim and taktainim. I've heard that lashon before, right? Everybody knows that lashon. The al yenim, taktainim, there's gezeira, like the Bnei Surya don't go to Roimi, and the Bnei Roimi don't go to Surya, right? What does that really mean? Let me open up the floor a little bit. What does it mean there's a gezeira between al yenim and taktainim, and they couldn't They couldn't meet, they couldn't combine, they couldn't whatever, they couldn't cross from one to the other. Only after Matan Torah there's a koyach for such a thing. What does that really mean in plain English? Why does anybody care about that? Should anybody care about that? If we're not like super spiritual people, why is that like relevant?
Doesn't bother me.
Doesn't bother you. It's good. I don't know if it's good, but it's good that you can at least be honest about it. Who cares? Who cares about Al Yenim and Taktainim, whether Taktainim go up and Al Yenim go down? What difference does it make? Maybe if I'm a big tzaddik, I could care. Why does the average Joe care? A tangent a little bit. Similar question. The Rebbe's first message on Yud Shvat, Tafshin Yud Aleph. What's the first thing that the Rebbe told us in a mimer and is being Mekabel in Asiyas? The first thing the Rebbe came to say is, when we say Iker Shechina in the Medrash, what we mean is not Malchus of Atzilis and not the Orakav. No, it's a certain practice, the Gedarga of the Orin Seif Shalichnei Tzimtzum. That's Iker Shechina. Who cares? Why does anybody care? Seriously, it's like everybody asks, like that part of the line is so difficult. Why is it even relevant, B'chal? Is it relevant? Why would that be the first thing that the Lubavitcher Rebbe comes to say as he's being Mekabel in the Does anybody have any thoughts? I really would love to hear. Maybe everybody knows. I don't know.
It has to do with Moshiach. No?
What does that have to do with Moshiach?
The whole thing is Moshiach. It was the.
Explain.
It was another thing you said before.
Yeah.
It's like irrelevant, but the outcome. If you don't have all the inyanim. That's why your reches everything was nothing. When you have to once they were combined, they could come up and down. Then the whole inyan from the mitzvahs were different. That's why it bothers us.
I vote for this.
You're right. Could we say a little bit clearer?
You'll do it.
Okay, I'll do it. Fine, I'll do it. Try to do it. I think the answer to both questions is basically the same. What is El Yainim and Taktainim? Let's do that one first. El Yainim means worlds where they feel, whoever lives in those worlds, whether it's Neshamas or Malachim or Spheres or whatever, it means worlds where they feel Hashem's presence more. There's an actual, tangible experience that Hashem is present in this world, to whatever degree. In Bria, it's one way that they have a lot of Hasaga, and because of their Hasaga, they have a lot of Hergish. In Yetziras, that they don't have so much Hasaga. I mean, they do compared to us, but compared to Bria, they don't. But it's more about the rash and the emotion and just the passion of Avavira. In Atzilus, there's B'tzal B'msis. They don't even have Yeshus over there. There's not even a feeling of being like I'm a separate entity from the Eivishter. If you're in Atzilus, then it's Iyu V'chayu V'gramu Echad. There's a oneness with the Eivishter. There's a feeling that all that's really here is the Eivishter, and I'm just like an expression of Him. And then you have us. We feel Mitziyusi Me'atzmusi. Really, I don't even feel like anything's creating me. Certainly not every moment. Maybe I believe that there's a creator. I feel there's a creator. They don't like experience it, but a person could feel in their hearts maybe that they really believe it. They understand why. Maybe a rational proof that there's a God. Whatever. There's no feeling, tangible experience of the Eibishter's presence. Right? That's the nature of our world. That's called Choshech. By the way, I always wondered about that. When we say Choshech HaGolos, sometimes it's a very beautiful day outside. It's very sunny and it's like very nice. What Choshech HaGolos? Not today. Today you could feel the Choshech HaGolos. But a lot of other days, I was always like, what's the Choshech HaGolos? It's like beautiful outside. It's very bright. It's like stunning how bright it is actually. Choshech HaGolos. Choshech HaGolos. What is Or? The function of Or, part of the function of Or, is that it tells you that there's a Mar. Right? When I look down at the floor, I realized that there's a light bulb on over my head, even if I didn't see the light bulb. Why? Because Or makes you feel the presence of the Mar. When it's daytime, you don't have to look at the sun to make sure the sun is there. It's daytime, you see the light, so if there's light, then there's a source of the light. That's the nature of light. So an Or Eliki, so Or Gashmi is a muscle for Or Eliki. Or Eliki is something that makes me experience the presence of the Eibishter. And in a world where there's more Or Eliki, so there's more tangible experience of the Eibishter's presence, which allows also for Hasaga and Argasha and Ava, V'yira, and so on. So the Gezeira between Al Yainim and Tachtainim, the pshat is that there's some worlds that the Eibishter made with a lot of experience of Hashem's presence, and there's other worlds, mainly this one, where He made very little or zero of this experiential sort of awareness of His presence. And the Gezeira is that they don't mix. If you live in a high world, you get to experience Hashem. If you live in a low world, you don't get to experience Hashem. Ending. There's no switching, there's no combining. You don't get to live in Olam Hazeh Gashmi and get to experience Elikos. No, it's a Gzeira. Matan Torah is, you know what we can do? We can take Atzilus and bring it here. We can take all of the Hergish Alaki that they have because of that Oren Atzilus, and we can make it be felt and experienced in a world that has space and time and Kashmirs and different objects and physical bodies, and all that can be experienced by physical people. That is not the Seder that was before the Gezeira. Kashmirs came with not experiencing that. Ruchnis came with yes experiencing that, and there was no switching. The Chiddush of Matan Torah is you have the koyach to make that happen. And I'll derech that with Basi Lagani. Why does the Rebbe? Who cares what darga of or it was that was Iker Shechina B'Tachteinim Haisa? Because Iker Shechina B'Tachteinim Haisa is a tangible experience of Elikos. Even though there was a Gzeira, but at that time, since it was the beginning, so that experience was available. But how intense of an or, how powerful of an experience, right? Like you could have a light that's pretty dim, you could have a light that's pretty bright, you could have a light that's so bright that it's like blinding. So just like an orgasm, you can have different levels of intensity. So or eliki also you can have different levels of intensity. So the Rebbe wants to know, how intense was this experience of Elikos? It doesn't say that over there, but it says in other places. L'mashal, there's a maimer of the Nigla Kavod Avayat Tavshin Tezvav. Also an Achron Shal Pesach maimer. By the way, Achron Shal Pesach maimer are always talking about this stuff because it's all about at Kriyas Yamsuf they felt something, and at Los Love we're going to feel something again. That's a lot of the Achron Shal Pesach maimer are about that. So it comes up a lot over there. So it says in this V'Nigla Kavod Avayat a comparison between Avraham Avinu and Moshe Rabbeinu. That Avraham Avinu was an Neshama from Atzilus, but he had to work up to it. So he was in the Neshama from Atzilus. But Moshe Rabbeinu is in a Mayim Mishisiyu. He is a certain type of Neshama from Atzilus that it says he's a Neshama from Atzilus Parged Nikvas Land. That's the category. Neshama from Atzilus Parged Nikvas Land, which means the curtain is pierced for them. So what does it mean the curtain is pierced for them? It means even though he's in a Neshama from Atzilus, he feels the Gilui not of Atzilus, but the Gilui of the Oren Seif Shalifnei at Tzimtzum. A much stronger experience of Elikos. So how does the Rebbe bring out the contrasts? The Rebbe says Avraham Avinu had what's called Re'iyas Elikos. Re'iyah, when you see something, there's a certain pshittas to it, right? It's obvious. Anything you see is obvious. There's certain pshittas. But on the other hand, even seeing something, it's still a little bit of a chiddush. It's still like, oh wow, I saw that. Like, you have to see it in order to sort of take it in. So it's not the ultimate pshittas. So Avraham Avinu, the idea that there was a world was never a hard thing for him. As much as he saw Elikos, but he knew that there's a world. That's how he started off his life, knowing that there's a world. And he always knew that there was a world. That, the Rebbe says, that hanacha never left from him. But he came to see Elikos, which is a very powerful experience. But Moshe Rabbeinu, since he's before his neshama was as if it was from before the Tzimtzum, so what that means is, by him it was Elikos b'pshitas, it's pasha that there's Elikos, and he had to be misyageya to bring rayas to himself that there's also mitzias, that there's also a world, that there's also atzilus, there's also spirits. He had to struggle. Can you imagine, like people in this world struggle to prove to themselves that they really believe that there's an Eibishter? Moshe Rabbeinu was the neshama guf living in this world, and he had to prove to himself that there's even a world.
He didn't have enough to do.
And the Rebbe says, by the way, Moshe Rabbeinu v'chein nesiei Chabad. Do you want to know what a Rebbe is? Okay? So, but you see now the relevance, I think, hopefully I did a good job explaining quickly, you see the relevance of these ideas, that there's Al-Yenim and Tachtainim, there's a Gzeira, or that what level of Oren Seif was it that was the Iker Shechina B'Tachtainim Haisa, because it's describing to you a specific experience of Elikos. And it happens a lot of times. We learn Chassidus and we learn all these words, and we fail to, not fail to, but we don't always know. I know that I learned a lot of Chassidus before I learned any of this stuff. There's a certain person who taught it to me, that explained to me and showed it to me that this is what all the Maimarim were saying. And then like once you see it, it's like, oh my gosh, like how did I not see that this was what it was always talking about? Like how did I even learn Chassidus before? But so this is what it's talking about. Is the whole Chassidus is talking about experiences of the Eibishter. Every level of Seder Shtashel is a different experience of the Eibishter. The Eibishter feels more present, less present. My Yeshus is felt more. My Yeshus is felt less. What is Yeshus, by the way? Yeshus means I perceive myself as being separate from Hashem, right? So more Elokus means less Yesh. More awareness that everything is the Eibishter is less feeling of me being a separate thing from the Eibishter. So it's all one continuum. That's what the whole Seder Shtashel is. So the Rebbe explains, back to this Maimer V'Hechrim, the Rebbe explains that at Kriyas Yamsuf, so Kriyas Yamsuf was Hachana for Matan Torah. Because what's Matan Torah? Matan Torah is that we were given a koyach that slowly, la'at, the Rebbe says, that Biyah should become Kumoy Atzilus. In other words, that the worlds where there's Yeshus should come to be like the world where there's no Yeshus. Sort of like what we were saying before, this experience of Hashem, and this Pshittis, and this Re'iyas Elokus, on the level of Atzilus, happening in Olam Hazeh, in the world of Gashmias. So that means that Neshamas B'Gufim experience the world as, wow, this whole world is just an expression of the Eibishter. I'm only an expression of the Eibishter. You're only an expression of the Eibishter. Everything that exists is only an expression of the Eibishter. Tangible experience of that. And when you realize that's what we're talking about, by the way, you start realizing how it could be the wolf is going to lie with the lamb, and the Yidden and the Goyim are going to get along, and it's going to be so peaceful, and there's no Ra, yeah, because everyone's having this intense experience of the Eibishter's presence. And this is also what the Rebbe says in the Yonah Shal Teres HaChassidus. You know, beginning of the Yonah Shal Teres HaChassidus, the Rebbe says like, there's 4 things about Chassidus, but really none of them are the etzem of what Chassidus is. There's one nekuda, that's what Chassidus is, and everything else comes out from that. And later on, the Rebbe says the same thing about Moshiach. All the milas that we always hear about with Moshiach, they really come from one nekuda. And from that nekuda comes out all the other milas of Moshiach. And that is that we reach Etzem Achayis, and other Maimarim it's explained differently. Whatever, there's all different Lashonis. You could call it Chibur Atzilus B'Yah, you could say Mamali, Yichud Ma'aban, Gili Oren Seif Shlitin Yatzimtzum, Gili Aspas. There's pratim in the difference between all of these terms, but it's all the same general concept that the world, the physical world, can experience the presence of the Eibishter. So the Rebbe says, what's Kriyas Yamsuf? It's that what we got was a temporary version of the experience of Geula, a temporary version of Chibur Atzilus B'Yah, this feeling of the Eibishter's presence. And that's why it says that what the Shifcha saw at the sea, even the greatest Navi never saw. Because Nevi'im are connected to Bria or whatever exactly the protistic darkest Seder Shtashel, but it was a very tangible, real experience of Elokus. And in the shiur I'm giving over there, we're going through it very systematically and trying to piece out these changes. Here I'm saying it over very fast and just giving you the nekudas, but over there I'm presenting more the way of thinking about it and seeing that this is what the Maimer is talking about. Shameless plug. I have a YouTube channel also. Okay, anyway. So Kriyas Yamsuf, the Rebbe says, was like chinuch. It was like pashut, like you teach a kid, like you show a kid how to do something and you say, okay, now go do it yourself, right? So the Rebbe says the same thing. Kriyas Yamsuf was like chinuch. It's like, here you go. This is Dir B'Tachtainim. This is what it means to experience the Eibishter. Now I'm going to give you the Torah. Now you have a koyach to go actually change the world into that permanently. And when that happens, actually it's not just going to be the same thing that was at Kriyas Yamsuf. It's actually going to be something even greater, and that's why there's also B'Kiyas Anar and also whatever the other nivuos. Like the details are explained over there. How does that process work? The Rebbe says la'at. Okay, we're going to this little separate topic now, but once you have this idea that Geula is about experiencing the presence of the Eibishter in a tangible way, so it changes, in my opinion, at least in my personal experience, it changes the way you think about certain other concepts, or it just clarifies things off upon it. So the Rebbe says that it happens la'at. Now, when we say la'at, there's 2 ways of thinking about la'at. Either one way it could work is that we started off with all this klipa and not feeling the Eibishter's presence, and then we worked for a long time and we got up to the level of like Asiyah Ruchni, And then we worked for a long time and we got to the level of Yitzir, and then another long time we got to Bria, and then we'll get to Atzilus eventually. That's one way of thinking about it. The other way of thinking about it is that we do it slowly, and the whole result comes at the end. Right? So it's obvious that this second way is the way that it happened. We're not finding that the world is feeling the Eibusher's presence in a tangible way more and more over the last 2,000 years. That didn't happen. It's the other way. Berurim, like the Rebbe talks about in the Maimon, Berurim works the other way. You refine everything, and the result comes up at the end. It's like downloading an app on your phone. The process happens. When it's 50% done downloading, you get to use 50% of the app? No. When it's 100%, you get 100%, but until it's 100%, you get nothing. So Berurim works the same way. Berurim, you refine the world. Is there a sign of Berurim changing? Maybe, yeah, sometimes the Rebbe point to certain things that are signs that the Berurim are happening faster, or the Berurim are over. The Rebbe gives certain simanim. Okay, we'll get to that in a second. But Berurim works like downloading an app on your phone, Pasha. You download the app 100%, and then it opens up. So the Gula is the same way. You do all the work for the Gula. It looks like the world didn't change. It doesn't look like the world's becoming more aware of Elikos, or feeling Elikos in a tangible way, certainly not. But at the end, it comes and you see it, and that's called Moshiach. Moshiach comes and he flips the switch, he opens the app, he gives you the Gila Elikos that we were working on for all the years. Now the Rebbe says a very interesting thing. I've seen it as early as Tafshin Mem Vav, but certainly in the Sichos of Nanaf and the Beis, it's a very heavy emphasis of the Rebbe that Avodas HaBerurim, this process of what I'm calling downloading the app, is finished, geendigt. Avodas HaBerurim, it's time of Avodas HaBerurim. Unless anybody say that really what the Rebbe means, we reached the quota, but really there's more to do. There's a Sichor where the Rebbe says, Vayishlach Nun Beis, towards the end, the Rebbe says, and I always tell people you have to drill these words into your heart. These are like some of the most important words, in my opinion. That the Rebbe says, Kol Zman, that the Golus continues, in parentheses, for whatever reason that's not understood at all. We are not doing Avodas HaBerurim. Rather, we are doing an Avodah Miyuchedes L'Havias HaSkalos B'Poel. A special Avodah that's causing the Skalos. So if my mushal is a decent mushal, so what that means is it's like, you know when you download the app 100% and it still isn't open? It's like, what do you mean? You're telling me you're 100% done and it's not open. If it's 100% done, then it should open. If it's not opening, then it's not really 100% done. So which one is it? So this tension, I think, captures the tekufa that we're living in right now. Like in Natsicha, it says Kol Zman, that the Golus continues. That means now also, even though the Rebbe said in the base, there's no changing, there's no going back. The Rebbe said clearly, Kol Zman, that the Golus continues. This is what it is. So this is where we're holding. And in fact, last week in Lech Lechon and Beis, I guess I did notice it because I saw I underlined it in my sefer. I like to take a lot of notes on an Alpha and Beis because otherwise you just forget everything. There's a lot of details. There's a lot of questions that Rebbe answers derech agav, so I always triple underline and whatever. So the Rebbe actually says over there, even though you have to say we haven't finished the whole Avodah, something, I don't even remember what the rest of the sentence is. And I was reading it and I was like, what? Every sikha, we finished the Avodah, Berurim is geendigt, we're done. And then, even though you have to say that we're not really done, so I'm like, what?
You say not really done with Avodas HaBerurim?
No, just even though we didn't finish the Avodah Kula is the lashon. Yeah, I understand. Right, yeah. So I'm being dramatic because really I only thought about it for 3 seconds and it was very clear to me because I already had this Berurim thing in my head for such a long time. But I'm just trying to be dramatic. So I realized there's, you're pointing out, there's a big difference between an app that's 95% downloaded. So it's 95, so it's almost there, but it's not done yet. Versus an app that's 100% done and still won't open. If it's 100% done and still won't open, that's weird. There's a tension there.
No,
there's a why is this thing not opening? Right? If it's 95% done, there's no why is it not opening. You can ask why is it not downloading faster, fine, but you can't ask why is it not opening. It's not opening because it's not done. But once it's 100% done and it's not opening, then you have a question, what's going on? It has to finish up, but you see that's why the sichos of the Nalach and Beis, in my opinion, are so important, because once you're in that tension, that awkward, 100% done but not opening type of phase, now there's new avodas that come up. Like I wrote about last week, if anybody read about it, Lech Lechon and Beis, avodas amoichin is something that is described in all of my marim, is something we do lost the lave, dafka, not shaykh now, and the Rebbe comes Lech Lechon and Beis says, start avodas amoichin, take the deepest maimar of the mitzvah Rebbe, learn them until you have harchava in your Havana Vasaga, make farbrengens where you all talk about the deepest things all the time. Where did that come from? And the Rebbe says the derech hayishara is l'imud Yonei Gul Moshiach. If you look over there, it also says that derech is the derech hayishara sheyaver leha adam. Adam means an adam who's b'shleimus, is on a high level. Yesh shleimer Klal Yisrael him b'chol. I forgot the lashon, but like the whole Jewish people is on this madrega that we finished our avodah, and we're an adam who's b'shleimus, and now that we're an adam who's b'shleimus, we're in this weird thing that our app won't open even though it's 100% downloaded. So what do? Learn in Yonei Gul Moshiach. Why? Because later sichos the Rebbe explains that's how you'll see the simanim in the world. That's how you'll have a real ad masai. Not only that, it has the power to lift you up to a personal level of geula. It can inspire you. It can motivate your whole life. Hashem. Spoiler: what I'm probably going to write for this week in Vayera is that the Rebbe says that through having such a chukka and geula, it will inspire you to become a kli roi for the gilui. Which means that saying on masai and really wanting Mashiach, it's not only. You could ask yourself, why should I build up such a desire for Mashiach? Every time I build up a real desire for Mashiach, he doesn't come, and it's very painful. It hurts. Pasha hurts when you're inspired for Mashiach to come and it doesn't come. No? So part of the answer is, first of all, that's not a reason. That's actually really the answer number one. Even though I go on Mitzvahim and I hope Mashiach's going to come, so it doesn't matter. It's not a reason not to go on Mitzvahim. So just like any other mitzvah, that's not an excuse not to do it. So the quote-unquote mitzvah, I know it's not one of the entire mitzvahs, but this avodah of wanting Mashiach, that's not an excuse not to do it because it's hard. Figure it out. But another answer is because that itself, that longing for Mashiach, part of what the Rebbe is saying is wanting Mashiach is the inspiration to do your other things the way they're supposed to be done. Because you want to be a kli for the gili. You don't want to not be fitting for this thing that the Eibush is about to give us. So it's not like, how could I worry about Mashiach? I have so many like day to day, just basic good midas. No, it all, the Rebbe's look is that it all goes together. When you want Mashiach, it inspires you to pick yourself up and do everything that you're supposed to do. So it's not two separate things. I can't teach this guy about Mashiach, I have to inspire him to Torah mitzvah first. No, Mashiach is the inspiration. And you see that also in Ves Chanan and other sichas. And I know we have to finish up. But Kitzur, this is the next week the Rebbe talks about the shiur of the shluchos. The shiur of the shluchos the Rebbe puts in the Ha'ara different sichos of Friedrich Rebbe and the Maimarim, and it explains that the shiur of the mitzvahs is what connects all of your mitzvahs to Hashem. So that means your other mitzvahs need help from your Kach and Mashiach to connect to Hashem properly. You get all your hashpois, bagashmis, of Baruchnis through this, and other milas of the shiur is all explained. We don't have time for it now, but it's a separate shiur that I give sometimes. I have it on my YouTube channel. If you want to know what's the shiur, it's all here in the sefer, and I have it in that shiur. And that's why the Rebbe says to go out and teach in Yonei Gul Mashiach to the whole world. Ba'ifin ha'miskabel. We always hear ba'ifin ha'miskabel. What does it say before ba'ifin ha'miskabel? It says be mevayer the inyan of Mashiach and Geula. For some reason, I never hear anybody talk about that part. It means we have to go teach Yidden about Mashiach and Geula. So if we could finish off with something practical, it's not enough to come to a Mashiach shiur and learn. It's great. I'm really glad all you guys came, especially the minyan, like the Rebbe said. The Rebbe didn't only say to learn in Yonei Gul Mashiach, the Rebbe said also to teach in Yonei Gul Mashiach. So learn as much as you can, and Lomid Almanas Lamed, give it over to the next guy, because everybody here has somebody that only they can reach, a lot of people that only they can reach. We all have our own chelik in the shluchos, and in Mitzvah Shem, if we realize that this is what the Rebbe wants, to teach in Yonei Gul Mashiach in a way that inspires our whole avodas Hashem, like I said a few minutes ago, then I have no doubt that we'll see Mashiach very soon taking the